Don't get sued for buying a murder house. Hey, I just want to share with you some news that I've been following in the past couple months. And it's a story on a couple years back. A buyer was sued for buying a murder property, a murder house. And now the lawsuit has been going on for a few years, and now the verdict has been out. What happened was, there was a family and they lived in this house in Shaughnessy. And they had 2 kids, and the husband was actually gunned down outside of this Shaughnessy home. As a result, the daughter, who was going to a private school near the Shaughnessy home, she was forced to transfer to another school. The private school basically kicked her out. And so she transferred to a public school and eventually transferred to a private school in West Vancouver. So what happened was, they hired a listing agent to list the property, and the reason for selling was the daughter was going to a school in West Van. So a buyer came along and said, "Why are you selling?" And the listing agent explained, because the daughter was going to a private school in West Van. And so the buyer bought the property, and before the closing date, the buyer found out about the murder. The murder where the husband was gunned down outside the home. And the buyer refused to complete on the property. So what happened was, the seller sued the buyer for breaching the terms of the contract. But the buyer was saying, "No, you didn't, you falsely represented yourselves, you didn't disclose about the murder." And so there was a court battle. So they took it to small claims court, and the judge said, "Yeah, you falsely misrepresented the reason for selling your home," and ruled in favor of the buyer. But this judgment was overturned because it was appealed, and it went to the BC Court of Appeal. And what the BC Court of Appeal judge said was, the listing agent did not falsely misrepresent the home, answered the question of why are you selling the home, because the daughter is going to a West Van home, and that was a general question, and that was legit, that was enough. And the buyer was saying, no, that's falsely misrepresented, blah blah blah. The judge said, if we had to modify the law so that every homeowner had to disclose every possible reason that led to the sale of the home, then that would result in a huge number of claims, and it just wouldn't work. And so the murder outside the home, although that's a stigma, it didn't affect the usefulness or the value of the home. That's what the judge said. And so the judge of the BC Court of Appeal ruled in the seller's side, and the buyer had to complete on the sale. So what do we learn from this? A stigma is basically a subjective factor about a home that might affect someone's view of the property. Maybe whether it's on a T-junction, whether the home is on a big street, whether there is an electricity pole nearby, or whether there's a fire hall next door. Those are all stigmas. And if a particular stigma is important to a buyer, and I say it's the buyer's responsibility, because the buyer agent doesn't know the buyer's individual preferences for all their stigmas. See, I don't go to every listing agent and say, "Hey, did someone die in this home? Are there ghosts in this home? Are there any specific allergens in this home that might cause my client to have allergies?" If it's important to the buyer should explain to the listing agent, "Hey, Gary, I'm concerned about murders, or I'm concerned about ghosts in the home, or I'm concerned about the home being on a T-junction," or something like that. And to some degree, like, these kind of things can be avoided. Usually what I share in another video, Google the home address, and you'll find out if any major crimes took place at the home, or a condo building. There's a condo building in Surrey. There were some murders, gang murders and stuff like that several years back. You can easily find out by just Googling the address. And you should explain that to your buying agent when you're working with them and you have specific preferences about the home. Because as a buying agent, we don't ask every listing agent, "Hey, any gang activity at this home, or any Any criminal acts taking place at this home? Did someone die at this home naturally or for murder? Like any ghosts in this home? Or like, we don't ask those kind of questions. We just ask like, why are you Mr. Listing Agent? Why are you selling this home? And if it's something of importance, of concern to you, make sure you explain that to your buying agent, because you don't want to be the one sued for not completing on the property. That's it for today. I would like to hear your comments on this story. I will attach the article in the link in the description below. And if you haven't done so already, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and I will see you in the next video.